Hey everybody, I'm pretty sure my audience, my fans are very familiar with this next guy, Jeff Pruitt. I've interviewed him before for one of our episodes. Of course, he's a film star and he's a stunt coordinator. Look at him, he's blushing already. We have a lot in common, our arms about the same size. But he's one of my best friends, and so I'm so happy to have him here. We're at the Battle of Atlanta today, so I wanted to start off just asking you a basic question about the Battle of Atlanta. What's your first impression? Because you've been to the battle before. Tell me about that experience.
Well, I started going to the battle like about 1973 it was, and I was just a little kid, and I got to see Chuck Norris and all of my heroes there, and it was the beginning of, we still had no pads. This was just before the introduction of Junri's safety punch, and then I saw the safety punch being introduced and safety kick and all of that, and how things changed, and I competed a little bit, won a couple of trophies when I was a little kid, and it was very inspiring to me to come here and see all of the martial artists at the same time. It was great. It was all very exciting for me. I was just a little kid from the sticks.
So what's your impression today after watching some of the forms and the fighting? What was your impression?
Well, through the years, I've watched martial arts tournaments change from the day of everything was very traditional back in the day, where you had to have your specific style in form competition, very much frowned upon to go outside of your style.
Right.
Now it's more flamboyant, it's gymnastics and a lot of expression, and it's fun to watch. I remember George Chung. I think when I saw George Chung doing musical kata, and he started introducing some flamboyance to the thing, and the audience got behind it, that's when things started really changing, in the form competition.
So now you were stunt coordinator for the Power Rangers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and other shows. Would you look for martial artists like from tournaments like this to incorporate into your TV shows, or were you just kind of go to a local school and look for somebody that was skilled? How do you find your talent, and what would you suggest to people about becoming stunt fighters?
Well, on Power Rangers, a lot of the stunt team was made up of, on the American side, they were made up of people who came from martial arts background. Some came from gymnastics, some came from martial arts, even a few came from dance, but it was all about expression. It was more of a dance-like style of fighting, more than the rougher stunt stuff that we did in the films. In the films, when you're a stuntman, it's more about reactions, and there are all kinds of things you have to learn. But on Power Rangers, it was more stylish. It was more akin to what they're doing here. We had guys like Richard Brandon, who was a great kung fu guy who did forms. He was a forms champion. We had people like that. And the one person who was a full contact kickboxer was Bridget Riley, and she would leave and go do her kickboxing, and then come back and play the Yellow Ranger. And then Sophia, my wife, Sophia Crawford, came from Hong Kong. She had the Hong Kong background training, which is all about reactions and expression. So we had all of these guys working together. And then I had some Japanese stunt team who came over, and we all merged together to make the Power Rangers stunt team. So it was all about that, sticking to a kind of what we call kabuki theater. It's a way of acting with your body,
Oh, that's so cool. We just interviewed a wonderful young performer. Her name is Haley Glass. She's, I don't know how many world times championships she has, but she has 7 different divisions. She's number 1 in all of them. And she's getting ready now to leave this world, the martial arts tournament world, and try to break into the films. If you had to give her some advice, what kind of advice would you give somebody like that, aspiring to be an actress or a stunt person?
Well, because she already has the solid martial arts skills background, now what she needs to work on is all of the other stunt things, the reactions, because mostly when you get called to do a fight scene, most of the time as a stunt person, you're not the one who's doing fancy kicking. You're not, unless you're the stunt double and they want you to do that. But most of the time, you're in a crowd of people, or you're getting beaten up, you're flying over tables, you're crashing into walls, you hit the mini tramp, you hit the wall, you hit an air ramp, you get ratcheted by a cable. You're doing everything to your body that's in a reaction to being hit. So that's the thing I would say. Practice that. Practice your high falls, those kind of skills, and learn how to. She can already do a beautiful form, but now learn how to do martial arts movements without the fancy form, by doing it in a more of a sloppy way, so that you can make it look natural and fit in with whatever the scene is. Because all of the films, they're not all the same. Like Power Rangers was one style. Buffy was one style, and maybe a cowboy fight scene will be a completely different style. You need to be able to adjust yourself to that.
Let me ask you a personal question in here. So you've done both stunts and you've acted in the films. Which is your preference? Which did you enjoy more?
I don't know. I enjoyed the stunts more, but acting, it wasn't something I ever tried to do. It was just that they would say, Pruitt, why don't you do this part? And then I would do it. Because I just wanted, the only reason I liked to get on camera was to be able to do, back in the early 90s, we didn't really have the Hong Kong style action here. So I was trying to introduce, mixing together Western style and Hong Kong style together and do something. But now the guys that came up under me, they're all doing it now in the big budget films. But back then it was hard to convince directors and producers to allow us to do that. They thought it was too much, too fast, too many hits, too many, it's just too much, we can't do it. And I would pressure them to keep adding more and doing it.
Let's expand on that, because you were one of the forefathers. I mean, you were at the beginning of bringing almost the Asian style of fighting to America with Buffy as well as with the Power Rangers. Could you name some of the people that are now big directors or stunt directors that you had a chance to work with or get involved in the film industry?
Well, a lot of the guys that are coordinating now that came up were working with me and working for me. I gave Chad Stahelski his very first job. He's the guy who is director and producer of John Wick, and David Leitch, his partner. He directs John Wick as well, and tons of other films. He just did Fall Guy. Right? But back then, I was doing a film called Mission of Justice, and Chad was one of Dan Inosanto's students, and my roommate was one of Dan Inosanto's instructors. And I was always trying to get him to come down and be in a film, because I said, you have the perfect height, look, I could get you to stunt double all these guys. And he was like, no, I got to do this kickboxing thing. He wanted to go to Japan and kickbox and all that. But I did get him to be in Mission of Justice, and all of the Inosanto guys, I brought them in.
Wow.
And they did we did a stick fight in that film. But then later he came and worked for me on Buffy, and had him double Angel a couple of times. And I went to dinner with this guy called Yuen Woo-ping, right?
Oh, yes.
Because he had come to America to do this film called The Matrix. And while we were having at dinner, he said, I'm looking for a guy. I mean, he was talking through Tiger, his translator, but he said, looking for a guy to double Keanu Reeves. And I said, oh, I've got the guy. And it was Chad, right? So I gave him Chad's information and everything, and the guys down at Inosanto's place, they had to convince Chad to go to the audition.
Oh, my goodness.
But he went. Then he became friends with Keanu, and they did the movie together. And then after that, Keanu Reeves really, really helped the stunt guys, and he helped Chad and David Leitch and all of them to break in, and they got to.
How about J.J. Perry? Was he one of them?
Oh yeah, J.J. Perry was one of the guys. He came up and he had worked on one of the Batman films, and then he came over and started working for me on Buffy, like all the time. And so all of those guys, yeah.
Well, I think all of them owe you some respect. You were, like I said, you were at the forefront of all of this, so that's really cool.
I needed those guys,
right?
Because a lot of what I was doing, they understood what I was trying to do. And I remember one time David Leitch and I, we were out back on the back lot where we were shooting a Buffy fight scene, and while we were doing it, we were talking about stunts that we wanted to put on camera. And he was going, well, why don't you just do it? Just do it. And I said, but I can't just do it. He said, yeah, but you can. You're the boss. You can do it. And I said, no, I can't. I said, believe me, because I've got this guy over here, this director, this producer over here saying I can't afford it. This guy said, trust me, when you get to be a stunt coordinator, you'll see. And he said, oh, okay. So then he went, and when he became a stunt coordinator, he started directing some action scenes. He came back and said, Jeff, now I know what you mean. He said, I try to get things on, and some I can get on, and some I can't. And I said, how can you take it? And they said, well, the only way is for you to be the producer and director yourself and have a budget. I said, but that'll never happen. And then next thing I know, there he is. He's out there. He's got the budget. He's the producer, and he's doing it. So
what's your impression of the modern fight coordinators now? Like some of the people you just mentioned, have they taken it to another level now?
Yeah. It's like what we were doing back then that was so unique. Now all of the guys that work for me, they're all doing it now. So it's like, when I first came in, it was hard to get the guys to do it because they wanted to do the old way, the old one punch, stop, wait, next punch, stop, wait, that kind of thing. It was like if you watch the old fight scenes in the '60s, that in the '70s too, that's the way they did it. It was like very slow because they told me you're too fast, you're hitting too many times, you got to cut that out. But as we went along and we started getting attention and we started getting success, then they would call me up and say, Jeff, who can I hire? Who can I bring in? So I would give them, David and JJ and those guys and send them out there. When Sammo Hung came here to do Martial Law, the TV series, they were calling me up saying, who can we get? Who are you using? And so I brought all my Buffy guys, all of those guys, to Martial Law and told them, call these guys, and gave them a list, So we've branched out from that. So now, today, all the young people that are coming up under them, this is all they know. They don't know how it was in the old days.
That's
they
true.
only know this. So to them, it's always been like this, but it's not true. We have to fight for it.
I want to welcome any of, not only fans of yours or martial arts, but if you're an aspiring actor, especially a stunt person, male or female, please visit. If you come to Atlanta, stop by the Ground and Pound coffee shop. It's in Alpharetta, Georgia. Jeff's wife, beautiful wife, Sophia Crawford, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all these other shows, she runs it and owns it. And she has other celebrities and other stunt people come in all the time. When you go in, you're going to see photographs of films and movies and TV shows. So if you're there, please frequent this shop. Come say hi to Jeff, say hi to Sophia. And I just want to thank you for being on my podcast one more time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.